Alrighty, welcome to Romera Records Virtual Cast. Today we have on the Drake, Jake Rodriguez. How's it going, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good. So yeah, what made you want to do this? You just randomly text me.
Yeah, I mean, I figured we had scheduled it a few weeks back and we never got back to it. So I figured, hey, might as well do it. And I got a little office set up. And I got my business going a little bit. So I'm not too brand new to the game. So I have a little bit more to share, I guess, on my
Yeah,
part.
yeah. I know you were busy for a while with. So for everybody who doesn't know Jake, he is in the Air Force as security forces. Met him through Jesse. I posted that podcast a few weeks back. But yeah, good friend, good person. You got the short end of the stick going to Minot, North Dakota, but
Yep. Yeah, I
but
did.
all good people have to go at some time.
And only the best come north, I guess that's what they say, right?
Exactly. So yeah, right now you are also on top of your security forces job. You are doing all kinds of fitness stuff. I see
Absolutely.
you've got the whole Rod Squad going. You've got people acting like a whole team. You've got a whole team of people who are trying to represent. So I guess give everybody a little bit of lowdown on what you're doing with that.
Yeah, so what happened was when I started Rod Squad was it was just kind of a thing like, hey, I was training myself and I was learning a whole bunch of information that came along with fitness. And I'm like, hey, like, I had a few buddies that were with me and they're, hey, we want to learn what you're learning. And I said, okay, cool. I'll learn the book and then I'll teach you inside the gym. And this happened in 2019 when I was deployed, and I started learning a lot more. I'd always been into fitness and lifting and whatnot for a few years before then, but I thought it was a good idea. Like, hey, let me get into books a little bit. Let me learn a little bit more than that. So then I started helping train other people, and giving them supplementation, giving them nutrition advice, workout advice, when to work out, how to eat, that type of thing. And so one thing led to another. I started ending up getting more followers, so a lot of followers came by and were like, "Hey, like I want to learn with you," and one of my buddies, Aguilar, he's like, "Hey, Rod Squad sounds super catchy," and I was like, I was like, "It really does," and it was one of those things where like no matter like we'd go have a beer or something, and he'd be like, hey, bring the squad, like bring the squad. And so by the end of it, by the end of the deployment, it was like, oh, Rod Squad, like it's just us because that's all we did was when deployed. That's all there pretty much is to do when you're just downrange doing your thing. And one thing led to another. I started personal training. Professionally and doing it as a business myself, and then just growing from there. And there's a lot of individuals that are in the squad that I have never met in my life, and it's very eye-opening to see other people from all walks of life, civilian, military, in all aspects, and just bringing us all together and saying, hey, like we're going to do this for the better. For individually, individually, they have their own goals, and so, like I said, like all walks of life, all over the world, actually. This is not just in America. So I like the way it's built. And so right now we're just growing. We're not too big, but a lot of people do know of us, and they're very interested. So the more we grow, the better, right? That's what I'm saying. So.
Absolutely. So let's go back to where you were talking about. You decided where you need to get in the books. Like what did you read? Like what were you looking up?
So when I started looking into the books, I said, hey, like I need to get into school, obviously. So um, Jesse, he's like, hey man, like I'm almost done with my degree. Maybe you should join up. And I was like, okay. I had no interest in ever going to school, and so I ended up taking the school that he was going to. So I went to Southern New Hampshire, and I started studying community science. And then from then on, I said, hey, like I'm not sure how I feel about community science. And then I went into science nutrition. So nutritional science is what I've been learning so far. I'm in a minor right now, and hopefully I can get my degree within the next 2 years. And so when I started doing that, I was just like, man, I need to research a lot more, and actually learn different body types, and to learn like, hey, what different diets are out there that people are interested in. Some people, when it comes down to training, it's like it's more what you're more comfortable with. And so I know my body really well. I think the biggest challenge was trying to learn somebody else's body and learning what they go through. When it comes down to like, hey, I need to be eating, the macros in a certain amount of time, or they need to, their schedule is completely different than mine. They work a night shift, they work a swing shift, or they're working 16 hours a day, like your nurses, law enforcement, first responders. Um, and so I think it was very important. Like, hey, I need to start researching more. I need to look at more influencers and see, hey, what are these guys doing, and where are they getting their information from? So I was pulling from my resources, and pretty much every essay, anything that I do, um, it's all resourced. It's all say, hey, like this study was from this university at this year, and they've done 3 different trials, and then I'll say, hey, let me try it. Let me figure out what's going on. What are they doing in order for them to figure out these end results. And so that's what I started researching more, getting into the books, getting going online, and saying, hey, like there's more than just eating healthy. When it comes down to athletes, as you know yourself, you got to eat correctly towards your body type, and what works best for you, for your energy sources and where they come from, hydration and all of that when it comes down to micronutrient. So looking into vitamins as well, right? So looking into different things that are like people really don't know, getting them blood work and then saying, hey, go get your blood work done, let's see what you're low in, and what we need to supplement. um,
It's
that's that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's pretty crazy how many people don't pay attention to what they're eating, but not like nutrition wise, just like um, I guess like how their body reacts to it, because that's something that I've noticed with people. They'll eat something and then be like, oh, I feel sick, but they don't even realize like, oh, it's because of what you ate. Like that's why. Or
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
tired, or if you have a lot of energy, like that's it's just not random happenstance. It's probably because of what you ate, and your body is trying to release stored energy, or it's trying to hold on to stored energy, because it's like, oh well, you just ate that, so let me hold on to the energy that we had earlier. Or oh, you ate this, so let's go ahead and release this energy because you're giving me more energy. So a lot of people don't even pay attention to that. So it's good that you were cognitive of that kind of stuff, because literally life changing for some people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not even in putting into the into everything, when it comes down to even medical purposes as well. So a lot of people don't know, like over 80% of America, they're in a pre-diabetic stage. They don't know they're in that stage yet. When it comes down to body fat percentage, and it comes down to, hey, like, are you actually hydrating throughout the day? Are you eating the micronutrients you're supposed to eat throughout the day? And depending on, and how active are you out the day? Because people are like, oh yeah, I'll go to the gym, and they'll go to the gym, and they'll be there for 30 minutes, burn 200-300 calories, but they're not hydrated, or they didn't eat well the past 2 or 3 days, and they're like, okay, well, I'm good for the next 2 or 3 days. And by that time, if you sit at a desk job or something like that, it could be very damaging, to the human body. And then when the higher medical purposes happen, uh, it's not the best. They're like, why do I feel like this, and this other visual doesn't feel this way? And it's like, well, how have you been treating your body the past few days, weeks, months, years? And it all comes down to, I think one of the most important things would be nutrition. Is actually feeding your body. They say you are what you eat. And sometimes that does reflect, and not only in just in the common person, but in athletes mostly. So as you know, like, being an athlete, you have to sometimes you got to sit down and like, man, I kind of have to weigh my food today. Or wrestlers and whatnot, they have to make weight, boxers have to make weight, MMA fighters have to make weight. And so they really have to figure out what they're going to be eating months in advance. And that's on the training aspect.
Yeah, I mean the ability to just take in food and be able to realize like, hey, this is what's going to get me the look that I want. It's a whole science experiment that you're doing on yourself, and it takes a long time to figure it out. Like one of my good friends, Trey Adcock, he's a bodybuilder, and I remember when he started doing it, I don't think he competed. If he's watching this, correct me if I'm wrong, Trey, but I think he competed like I want to say like 3 years deep into like his first decision to, do that kind of stuff. And at first it blew my mind because I was like, that's so long from now. But you have
Yeah.
to you have to realize like, he's starting from ground zero and trying to get into a career field basically. So for him to be able to be at a competition level is going to take a long time. And he
Absolutely.
played football in high school and he stayed fit afterward, but still like those people who are on stage competing like that kind of stuff takes a while to get to where they're at. Like the top bodybuilders have usually been doing it for maybe a decade before they like win something. Maybe I don't know, but I've heard stories like that. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's it's something that you can't take lightly as far as the amount of time and effort that you have to put into it because it's not something that you just jump into. And like you were talking about with diets, like a lot of people do a diet and they think, after 2 months they're supposed to see the results like they're supposed to see. Like, oh, why am I not Superman yet? It's like
Yeah.
it takes a while.
It's a long process. It definitely is. And a lot of people get frustrated with me sometimes, when I'm training them, like, I don't feel, I know I feel different, but I don't see the scale moving. And that's another big thing. You can't look at the scale, man. That scale is going to deceive you in so many ways. A lot of bodybuilders, when they're prepping, they do anything from 20 weeks out and they say, I got 20 weeks left. And you think, damn, 20 weeks, that's a long time. That's not like a month or two. And these guys are getting in one of some of the best shapes of their life. And by the end of it, 2 or 3 weeks, they're down to 5-6% body fat, which is at 5% body fat, you're considered unhealthy as an individual. You're considered sick. And so at that point, you're like, well, I don't know if that's really where I want to be. And then they get on a diet and they're like, I'm dropping too much weight, or I'm not dropping enough weight, that type of thing. And they start doing measurements and whatnot. And that's a big thing when it comes to bodybuilders too, right? They're so disciplined on their diets, and it doesn't matter what's going on in their life, and I'm truly impressed by bodybuilders and how they can do that. And it's great. I've gone through preps as well, and it's very heavy on the mind, that's for sure, when it comes down to the mental aspect of it, because you're not going out and drinking, you're sleeping just as much as you can, which most bodybuilders don't sleep a whole lot because they're doing an hour and a half of cardio, and they're still hitting 7 days a week in the gym. And these workouts aren't easy. They're not just go in the gym and do a few push-ups. Like, these guys actually have trainers go with them every single day, doing daily check-ins, doing weekly check-ins, and it's very, very awesome to see the body sculpting part of it, and the nutrition that they go through. It's insane. The coaches that coach to that level is very impressive to see.
Do you have your own coach or trainer?
So I did have my own coach and trainer for a little while. So I was trained by Hudson, and so he's a JBO professional bodybuilder. So he was training me at first when I first started getting into shows and whatnot. And then at the end of that last year, I took on Eric Murphy, and so he's an NPC pro as well. And so I knew them from work. So it was very easy to get contact with them, and they're both amazing bodybuilders. And so when I took on that challenge, I said, hey, it's it's one thing to put yourself in a diet, and it's another thing to take on a coach as a diet. And I think that's very important for others to see, is like, no matter how great you are, I mean, the top bodybuilders in the world, they all have trainers as well. And they have different trainers. They have trainers that look at the micronutrients. They have other trainers that look at their nutrition, and they have other trainers that focus just specifically in the gym and say, hey, and then they have posing coaches. There's so many coaches out there. You can be the best in the world, but someone's always going to know something better. And that's very important for others to understand. Like, that accountability aspect is super tough. And so when I took on my coach, I knew that I could be disciplined. I just kind of needed that check mark, right? I needed that, hey, here's rule number one. This is what you got to do for the next 4 weeks. All right, yes, sir, I got it. And I'll take off it and do what I needed to do. But as far as like accountability for myself, people were like, well, you're so disciplined, why can't you just do it yourself? Like, why would you pay for a trainer? Like, yeah, I can say that, but it's easier when someone's like, hey, I need you to do this. Okay, cool, I'll do that. It takes that pressure off of me, and to where I can just make a decision. That decision's made for me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to work out these days. And I think that's very important when it comes down to discipline and actually having that accountability aspect as a trainer myself and being able to understand that for other trainers.
Did it take you a while to, I guess, learn how to deal with people, like learning how to train people? Because it's one thing to tell yourself what to do. Like you like, hey Rod, we need to eat this and we need to go work out. Like it's easy to tell yourself that, but did you find it difficult on teaching other people? Because some people, they might think, what's Rod know? Even though they
Yeah.
reached out to you, they're going to be thinking,
Yeah.
oh, you
No,
don't know.
they'll ask me, yeah, like, wait, are you sure? And they'll go research themselves. Well, this says this. I was like, let's go to the bottom, and you'll see, it's a fake, something. But yeah, when it came down to teaching other people, I had to keep like my mindset under wraps, because sometimes I'm like, you come to me to ask me for help, and now you're questioning what I'm saying. So yeah, it was definitely a little hard saying
My
like,
wife
hey,
does that, and that's annoying.
oh really? Oh man. I ain't gonna talk about your wife on that one. But no, so yeah, like when talking to other people and saying, hey, I need you to do this, and I think this works best for you. And they're questioning back and forth. Well, I was with this trainer this time. I was with this trainer this time, and you're in that controversy, and you got to like let them understand, like, hey, this is a reasoning why. And when I train people, I try to do that as much as possible, and right off the bat, so there's no questions at the end. So if I can tell you like, hey, 1 + 1 is 2, you're not going to say, what if I -3? It's just going to be 1 + 1 is 2. And I'm going to explain to you, you got 1 and 1, and you're going to put them together. So that's what I try to explain, and I try to put into detail when I have clients that come to me, or even just social help, right, on just social media. Like, hey, try this, give this a try. I won't train you, but I'll feed you tips, because I was appreciative when other people fed me tips when I was just starting out.
Who are some people that you really look up to, or maybe not even look up to, but like you really like their content and the type of information that they give out?
So there's a few individuals. I just got big into the TikTok realm. Yeah, there's a big individuals like Alex Rinder, and just other people who are like me when I started out, right? So and we grow together as one, and we help each other. Like, hey, I don't think this was right. Let's research this together. Or even influencers on Instagram, and just seeing them kind of grow into it and say, hey, like, uh, they take out the BS of it. And I can't think of a name, like the usernames right now, of individuals, but yeah. So like when I see them, when they come across my page, and we'll interact with each other back and forth, and when they put out content that I've researched before, I'll put on content. I'll comment on there like, oh yeah, and this philosophy, this is what happened, and then this is completely right. And then so we'll kind of hype each other up like that when it comes down to content creating, and letting just viewers, this is open information that you can feed off of just someone's social feed. And I think that's really important too, right? Just socially growing, how social media is growing and whatnot. But yeah, looking at other influencers and seeing what they do has helped me myself even say, hey, like, this doesn't seem right. And then I'll go research myself, like, damn, he was right this whole time. And then I'll then I'll follow him, and I'll start looking at his stuff and double checking. And people do the same thing to me. It's just the motivation aspect, and there's always going to be that challenging and making each other better, for sure.
One thing that I love about, I guess, just the human body in general, and science for health, is it's always changing. And I remember the days where people were talking about how bad creatine was for you. They were like, "Oh, don't take creatine;
Yep.
it bloats you, and water and all that kind of stuff." And then I remember just doing my research about it and being like, "Creatine is amazing for you. Like everybody should be like, just not even athletes. Every human being should be taking creatine to just replenish their body with all the nutrients that they need." And then I remember, God, what was it? There was something else that people were kind of bad mouthing, but then it got a better reputation. But I just know that there's so many things out there that people, there's these myths, like these like nutrition myths that are horrible for the industry because will people are really bad about like taking something like a little snippet of information and then just running with it, and like
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh well, so, and if somebody's like if like Phil Heath was telling everybody, oh yeah, I make sure I have my chocolate milk after I get done working out, everybody's gonna be like, oh my god, I've got to have chocolate milk. Yeah.
Yeah, and all it takes is one influencer, right? It takes one important person that's been on shows and have won medals. It takes that one person, and sometimes they'll do it for the money, and that's fine. You can't tell them no. You can't say, hey, don't make your money. Don't make a bread. So it's easy to say like, oh, Fairlife, go drink a Fairlife protein shake, and one of the bodybuilders makes a commercial out of it, and here you go, and they just sold 2 or 3 million Fairlife bottles in the next day because one bodybuilder sees it and said, hey, I take this, maybe you should take it. Another thing, going back to like the creatine, I love creatine. I take 5 to 10 grams every single day, even when I don't train. Is on off days I'll still take it. It's very good. You get your ATP production, and it just helps. Right? It doesn't necessarily correlate straight to muscle, but it gives you that energy so you can actually fluctuate those muscles and keep it going. Same thing with like proteins and pre-workouts, all that stuff. Um, so yeah, like, and there's just more studies. The studies are never going to end. That's what's awesome about it, is that you can continue learning and learning. Same thing in the medical field. We're continuing to learn with this COVID thing going around. It's everyone's getting the vaccine and everyone's freaking out, and then all of a sudden everyone's a biologist. Everyone. I'm not getting it. FDA. It's not FDA approved, or it is FDA approved, or this, that, or this version. I'm like, well, all of a sudden everybody knows what the hell is going on. I was like, pro-choice, whatever you want to do, I can care less. But at the end of the day, like, do your research if you're going to talk, on your social media, especially big influencers and whatnot. So, like, yeah, we're always learning. There's always tests. There's always like, hey, we're going to do this test on this, piece of food or this supplement, and see if it actually works. You know, cap or fact type thing. So it's very interesting. I'm always learning something new every single day. Even though I know a lot, I've researched a lot. I've done a lot of school. Right now, I'm about to finish my NASM certification for nutrition and certified CPT. So in the book, it teaches you a lot. I feel like I knew the majority of what was in there, but people like the certificate. So like, are you certified? Like, well, no, but I know a lot. And they're like, okay, well, I only take certified people. Okay, I'm gonna go get the certificate. Just do the test, or just same things with jobs. You have a degree, but you join the military. I got an art degree. Okay, you're an officer. Here's a bar. Like, what?
Exactly.
But, so it's just a piece of paper in my eyes. But
What
yeah, like
made you go
this.
with the NASM?
So it was pretty cool because I had always thought about going to NASM because it's nationally accredited. And then learning into it while I'm doing the NASM, I found like there were several other companies that are like masked over NASM, so that are more specified into nutrition or an actual aspect of training, not just like all types of training. Whereas with NASM, you learn about all types of training, which I'm not an all type of training coach. I'm more into the bodybuilding, physique building type of training. I'm not really too into CrossFit or like marathon runners and whatnot. I'm just not too knowledgeable in that aspect. But the course does teach me a little bit about it, which is really good. Um, but yeah, I figured, hey, I looked into the Air Force Cool system and they actually accredited me the full NASM certificate to be a NASM master trainer.
Oh
So
wow.
they paid for everything. So I'm just like, oh, cool, I'll take it. I've always thought about it, and so I'm like, okay, well, now it's free. So now I'm going to take it because the Air Force hooked it up. So
That's amazing. Yeah, that's another perk of the military as far as education wise. So when you were doing the NASM stuff, was there something that stuck out to you specifically that they, I guess, harped on? Because I did ISSA, and
okay.
I really liked the whole setup. They were very, I guess, meticulous about things. Like they would go in depth with information. ISSA was more for like, I guess, like sports athletes. It wasn't like they didn't do a whole bunch of like, if you have this 7-year-old patient who has a arthritic leg or something like that. Like it was
Yeah.
more for like sports related. So, is there anything about NASM that you would say uh, stood out to you as far as the way they train or the information they gave?
So as far as going into the personal training certification, I did like how they explain like exercises and whatnot and the actual muscle groups that correlate with the exercises. So that was really interesting to me. I don't know a whole lot about ligaments and getting into the anatomy of the human body. And so learning into that to where I can say, hey, this is this muscle, that's this muscle, and that's what you want to start feeling. And there's muscles behind our muscles and muscles behind those muscles. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know. I just knew that this is a bicep and that's a tricep. That's what I knew. And so getting into it, I think I knew it was teaching me a lot to get into it. And then on the nutrition side, they brought in medical purposes, right? So diabetes, type 1, 2, thyroid problems, all that. So when you're learning the nutrition aspect, it shifts into medical reasons as well. And so that was very helpful. It gave me a lot of resources to look up on outside of the course. And so that was very like, hey, like, wow, I actually learned something from this. And so, yeah, that's one of the main things that stuck out a lot to me, which is very helpful.
One thing I think is hilarious when you start actually training people, people will come up to me like, "Man, my arm has it's just been killing me, man. Like, what do I need to
Yeah.
do to?" It's like,
Yeah.
yo, I'm not a doctor. I
Yeah.
just know how to work out.
Yeah, man, and it's gonna happen, right? Because you're not. And right now, I'm mainly online training, and so like I give you the workouts, I give you videos on how to do the workout, but I can't be there specifically and be like, hey, I need you to lift this because I know you can lift this, and I can't go to the gym with all of my clients and say, hey, like you're doing this wrong. I do like in-person training though; it's very fun. Although I can fit a little bit more clients into online training, and I can help more people abroad. So I think that's very helpful, but yeah, when it comes down to injuries and whatnot, it's like, hey, like these are rehabilitation or however you say it. Kind of yeah, but just getting back onto the grind and getting your muscles taken care of, tendons, protecting that, stretching, icing, heating, all that stuff. That was definitely a little bit more of like all right, man, you just got to rest. At this point, I can't help you past this point. If you really want to go see a doctor, you need to do your thing. Um, I do have a consent form though as well. So when I do train people, it's always I have my insurance and I'm protected as well. It's like, hey, like I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a doctor, I haven't been to medical school, and so they sign a consent form. And it's like, hey, if I hurt myself, it's up to me. I took this risk at my own. So yeah, I had to.
Yeah, I think that being able to give the kind of advice to help people is great, but people do need to understand like that difference in people's specialties. Like you
Yeah.
can't go to your physical therapist and ask them, what exercises do I need to do to make my hamstring look a certain way, and that's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
their specialty. Their specialty is rehabbing your body and giving you information on that. So I just think it's crazy, the I guess misinformation that's out there as well, but just the lack of knowledge that people have, and that's it's a very strange, I guess, subject to talk about for the future, because you would think as we have more access to knowledge, people would not need personal trainers.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it seems like, the more we go on in life, people are getting busier and they're working out less and they're eating less healthy. And so we need more personal trainers. And it's like, what's going on, people? Like, all you have to do is just look something up and you don't need a
Yeah.
trainer. But yet you're not doing any of it and you need a trainer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how. when you shape your life, you got to put it into different blocks. So you can't put all your, your eggs in one basket and just expect to just pull it out whenever you need it. Nowadays, everything's so complex, everything's growing, technology's growing, and you can't just, the way I see it is, you can't just expect everybody to be, a professional at everything. And so, I can understand where it comes down to, you can just go on YouTube and look up a workout. You can literally turn on YouTube and there's people who have a whole hour just of their workout, and you can follow along with them and do it with them. Um, or you can get a trainer, or you can go on Google, or you can go on Pinterest, Instagram, and there's hundreds of workouts. There's people who post their workouts. I've posted my workouts sometimes, and it's people like, hey, I'll try this out, and they're like, I don't know what I was doing. And it's like, it's sometimes you have to detail it and say, hey, like this is what you need to do, because everyone's different. Everybody's body is different. They work out differently. I promise you, like, some people's squats are going to be different than other people's squats, but they can still, squat 600 pounds. But like, well, he did it this way, but he did it this way. So you can't just follow one video and try to think like this is evolution. This is what it's everybody has to do this. So when it comes down to like knowing people's expertise is when it comes down to like medical purposes, getting actual nutritionists that go through their master's degree and go through their internships and actually get their certified nutritionist degree. But then you have a professional bodybuilding coach, and I promise you that bodybuilding coach can not only take care of the client in the gym and nutritionally and get them down to show ready, maybe even better than that nutritionist, just because that nutritionist may know a lot more about the micronutrient, but when it comes down to training, it's completely different. So it's all about knowing where to go, who to go to, um, and who can help you the best, and if you're actually going to put in the work or not.
When you're talking to people and giving them advice about their exercises and what to do, is is it going to be more of a like a set plan that's all about a few exercises, or is it about getting people to do a whole bunch of stuff so you can see what they're really made out of? Are you just trying to go easy on them, or do you like you put them through hell, you put them through the fire, and be like, yo, let's get into it?
Yeah, so it depends on what their goal is at the moment, right? So I'll say, I have them go through a little sheet, and it kind of says like, hey, where's your priorities at? Where are your priorities? Do you want to lose weight, gain muscle? You want to you want to be show ready, or do you just kind of want to be athletic? Do you just kind of want to have the athletic look, or are you more interested on paper? Do you want to see how fast you can run a mile and a half? Air Force PT test. A lot of individuals like, I just want to get 100 next year. That's my goal. And so when I have them branch out their priorities, and I say, hey, like, okay, what have you done in the past, and what do you think we can do in the future? What's worked for you recently? And so I get as much information as I can from them, and I say, hey, some individuals have already been on stage and they still want a different trainer because their trainer before didn't get them show prepped ready correctly. And so it's like, okay, well, what was wrong? What felt odd to you? And then there's some individuals who are just like, I've never been in the gym, or I go into the gym and I don't feel comfortable. I don't know what I'm doing. So that's when I will say, hey, we're either going to 0 to 100, or we're going to take baby steps into it. And usually when it comes down to food, it's very hard for someone that's never dieted before to actually sit down and say, hey, I'm going to write out all these foods for you for the week, and you're allowed to eat these foods. Or we can put you in a food freedom type of nutrition plan. Say, hey, you can eat what you want. I just kind of I want you to track what you eat, no matter what it is. So you can eat a large pizza and drink a liter of Coke. As long as you track it, I kind of want to see, and I want to teach you as we go. So it's not, I'm coaching you, but I'm also teaching you at the same time. And we got to learn that, because a lot of people don't know their bodies. The 3 different body types. And it's like, hey, like, I didn't know I was an endomorph. I didn't know I was an ectomorph, a mesomorph. They had no idea. And so when we learn the bodies, we have to learn it together through, um, trial and error. So it's a lot when they don't know that. It's awesome to see, man. Oh, hey, this really works for me. Okay, cool. Well, let's stay here for a little while and see where it goes. And then they'll get to a plateau, and I'm like, okay, let's try something different. Then it's always a big trial and error. And you can do your macro calculators and whatnot online and stuff. I like to do mine by hand. It's just a lot more accurate. And so when it comes down to tracking, when going 0 to 100 and tracking your macros, 24/7. Those are the individuals who are going to see the most progress. And so, like I said, so either we go through 0 to 100, or it's like, hey, let's take baby steps for, it could take all the way up to 12, 16 weeks before we can figure out what actually works for you. But at that point, it's a slow process. You can't just automatically think like I'm going to start making results right off the bat, and you've never done something like this before.
What are some things that you notice about people when they come to you? Is it their diet? Diet facts are off. They'll think one thing, or is it their exercise is not as good as they thought it was? Like, what are some things about people? They believe one thing, or tendencies among your clients.
Yeah, so I think so. One of the biggest factors that I guess I would say I get is one, not eating enough. Especially for overweight clients, they would say, I think I'm eating too much, and they'll eat under 1,000 calories a day, and I'd say, hey, I need you to eat more, and they're like, what? Like, why I'm fat? I don't want to. I don't want to eat more. I want to get slimmer. I'm like, yeah, well, your metabolism's so slow right now. You're not picking up. You're not using that energy. Even when you're working out, you're not using as much energy. You're not hydrating enough. I think that's a big thing when it comes down to losing weight. People are like, I want to eat one meal a day and that's it. And it's like, no, you can't do that. You got to drink lots of water. You got to eat a lot, eat throughout the day. Not necessarily 6 meals a day. That's something for some individuals just starting out. That's almost impossible for them, just because their body's not used to eating that much. So I would say, yeah, not eating enough would probably be the top line. Even they're like, man, I can't eat anymore. I'm like, okay, we'll find a cap, and then we'll eat that for 2 or 3 days, and then we'll increase it, and we'll increase it. And by the time you know it, 4 or 5 days later, they're like, I'm hungry all the time. I'm like, there you go. We're gonna start dropping that weight real quick. You just watch. And that's one of the the biggest things that I see people that them they just like, hey, I don't want to eat. I'm not hungry. Okay, well, let's get you hungry then. Let's get that metabolism. You know.
I think that is something that's probably like the number one thing among people is just how they eat. Like, a lot of people
Yeah.
just truly don't. People don't know how to eat, and it's crazy. That's the number one thing every human should be good at. We should all be phenomenal at eating, but we're just not.
You do it every day, right? You would think like, damn, hey, I'm 30 years old, I should know how to eat. What the hell, and sometimes you just can't eat like you did at 18 or 15. Now your metabolism slowing down a little bit. You got to figure out like, hey, if I eat every day, I'd be the best at it. I could be the best eater there
Yeah.
is. So but no, sometimes it's just not one. I think it's just right now, food is so easily available to
Oh
where
yeah.
people don't. They don't have to. You don't have to see what you're eating. You don't have to say, if I'm, they think very simply. I'm hungry, I eat. I'm hungry, I eat. I'm hungry, I eat. And a big problem with individuals now is whatever's on your plate, you want to finish that, and even get seconds after that, right? And sometimes it's so much food. You'll sit down, eat 2,000 calories, like holy crap, and you didn't even realize what you ate. Go to a restaurant. I don't want to take leftovers. I'm just gonna eat it, even though I'm full. You know, I'm still gonna finish that meal, and no matter what, I'm still gonna finish. The third Coke, and I'm just sat here for uh, for an hour. Eating dinner. And I'm not saying you can't eat whatever you want. You can eat whatever you want in moderation. As long as you're eating in moderation, you should be fine. Not necessarily you need to bring your scale to the restaurant and say, hey, this is not, this isn't a 8-ounce steak. I ordered an 8-ounce steak. Why is it 6 ounces? You don't have to do all that, but as long as you can portion size, I think that's very important. Have that food freedom, eat what you want when you want, but make sure you're doing it correctly and in moderation.
Yeah, there was something that I heard this guy say. He said, I always eat when I'm hungry, but I never eat until I'm full." And I was like, that's a good way to look at it, because if you always eat when you're hungry, then you're going to keep that metabolism up. But if you never eat until you're full, so you're not stuffing your body and getting that like groggy feeling. And he was like,
Mhm.
he was saying, he was like, yeah, I always eat as if I have to like fight somebody as soon as I'm done. And I was like, that's.
What you mean fight somebody? This man under attack. We gotta talk to him.
But I was like, that's a pretty good way to look at it, because how many times do people just eat and just feel like doing nothing? Like that,
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
me, that means you ate too much. Like if you eat and you feel like you can't do anything when you get done, you ate too much. So
Absolutely.
if you eat as if you have to like go do something, like you've got to go exercise or fight somebody as soon as you get done, then you probably ate the right amount of food.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you want to, yeah, when it comes down to eating, man, like I said, people have a plate and they're like, man, I got to finish this whole thing. Or they go into fast food and they ordered way too much. Like, I might as well eat it, it's right here in front of me. But yeah, you don't want that metabolism to slow down to the point to where you're in that carb overload and you're just like, holy crap, and you want to take a nap. At that point, that your body cannot process all that food. 60% of that's going to go to waste, or it's going to go straight into the gut. That's what's just going to happen. You're just going to turn straight to body fat, and your body's going to be like, well, I can use this for later. And so it's just going to store it as body fat. And then if you don't exercise and you're done for the rest of the day, you're tired. Say you ate that meal at 4 o'clock. By the time you wake up, it's 7 o'clock. Oh, let's eat again. And at that point, adrenaline and leptin levels have switched up on you, and you're like, wow, I need to eat it. And then my adrenaline levels are rising, and my leptin, is lowering. That means I need to eat. And then your body wants to feed into it again, and then you go to sleep, and then now there's no energy, and it just sits there and it sits there and sits there. Um, and so that, and then eventually, weeks, months, years down the road, you're like, how did I get here? How did I get here? Well, there you go. You ate too much, and now next time eat like you're about to fight somebody afterwards. I get that, if that works. So
So we've talked a lot about your fitness stuff, but let's get into a little bit about what you do in the Air Force. So you started out as everybody does in the Air Force. You go to basic training in Lackland, and little different for you specifically because you are from San Antonio, right?
yes, sir. I am from San Antonio, born and raised. Yep.
All right, so you go to basic training literally right across the street. So,
I
so,
literally took a bus. I took a bus to basic training. It was a 20-minute ride. Yeah.
so how? Explain to everybody like your experience through basic training. I know like security forces people. Did y'all have a little different basic training? I can't remember.
So when I went to basic, I was a part of the special operations guys. So I didn't come in security forces. My contract was originally for pararescue. And
Oh,
so so usually, you have it's a flight. You have a brother flight or a sister flight, and it's 50 in each around their average. For us, we had a brother flight. So our brother flight, I believe they were all PJs as well. We were all PJs. I think we had like one SEER and a TAC P and mixed with us. The reason why they did that is because they wanted us to train a little bit more. So we can be ready, because as soon as we graduated the 8-week basic training, we're going straight into indoctrination course. And there was no like, hey, warm up session. And a lot of us dropped a lot of strength. We dropped a lot of speed, because the Air Force, they always want the Air Force first. Go to your classes, do your Air Force thing, and then if you want to work out, you can work out afterwards. So it ended up being um, a little bit more running, a little bit more of, hey, going to the pool, that type of thing. And so I don't really know. I think security forces, I think they just mixed in with every other career field. I
yeah.
don't
I
think
think
it's
it's
like,
just the spec ops people, like you were saying, who have a different type of basic training.
yeah, yeah. So we're all together, and so when we got to our tech school, literally it was at Medina, which is across the street from Lackland. And so we all pretty much just got in a bus and went over and started getting into the indoctrination course, for PJ, and we started getting all our gear and whatnot. So it was my experience from security forces is a little bit different than everybody else's. Um, and so pretty much when I joined, I went through basic with the PJ squadron, and then went over to tech school. So I made it to week 3.5. I was at 4 weeks. And then I ended up getting double ready, which meaning I failed the PT test twice, it's not the standard PT test. This PT test was insane. It was like 6 miles, run, swim a mile, all types of stuff. The course is very difficult. by the end of it, by the end of my term, it was to the point where it was like, hey, you can start back at day one if you'd like. They invited me back, and I was like, I'm not ready. I don't think I want to do this anymore. And so then the Air Force gave me an option. They said, hey, uh, do you want to stay in the military, or we can kick you out like you just never happened, completely shred your contract, like you will get nothing, you just went through basic and that was it. So they didn't really spend a whole lot of money on me. Um, and so I said, no, I want to stay in, and so pretty much I got a dream sheet and said, here's 8 different jobs. I put security forces as my last job, and I got security forces. 2 weeks later, I'm like, holy crap. I was like, man, and it's
Got him.
crazy because I was like, damn. I was like, and I was like, yeah, you know what? It is what it is. I was 19. I just turned 19. I'm like, I ain't got nothing else to do. Fuck it. And so I went out, and then I went straight to the security forces squadron. I believe their tech school was 13 weeks at the time. Yeah. So yeah, went there, did my little tech school thing, and then I got stationed at Tinker in Oklahoma. And so that's where me and Jesse were actually in tech school together, and then we got stationed at Tinker together.
Yeah,
And then
what was it like? About 10 of you or more, and then the rest of
as
you
a run,
got like Minot and a couple other places.
yeah. So a lot of us went to Tinker. We had a few go to Florida. Some went to Korea, Italy, and then I believe like half of the rest of us came to Minot. So it was bound to happen. I think if you stayed in, like you're bound to go to Minot, like
Yeah, yeah.
regardless. So
So when you're at Tinker, how was that compared to, I guess, life growing up in Texas? Because if I'm not mistaken, you always lived in Texas, correct?
yeah, I never lived anywhere else besides Texas. So Oklahoma is just above Texas, and it wasn't too much of a change, I would say. It was still I was lived in the city like 10 minutes away from downtown, not very far. And it's kind of like a mini Texas, I would say. I wouldn't say it's Texas, but it's pretty similar. Very country. You go 15 miles out of the city, and you're in cornfields again. So it wasn't too much of a difference, from Texas to Oklahoma. You know, same lifestyle.
I think it's it's an awesome experience to be in a different place, especially in the military, because you are going to be around a bunch of people who you don't know who they are, and none of you know where you are. So it's like
Yeah, man.
it's
Big melting pot.
yeah, yeah. It's just a fun experience because you all are trying to, number one, do a job that none of you've done before, and then also you're trying to just navigate your way around this new place that you are forced to live at for years. It's not like you're going to be there for 6 months and then you go somewhere else. You're going to be there for a while, so you're trying to understand and learn this new place. Like Minot. Like I didn't like being in Minot, but at the same time, it was one of the greatest experiences I ever had because for those of you who don't know, Minot, North Dakota is like, was it northeast of North Dakota or north? It's pretty central, but
This is central. Yeah.
you can go to Canada in like 45 minutes, and then Fargo is about 4 hours away. South Dakota is about 6 hours, or like I think it's Rapid City is about 6 hours away.
Yeah.
So these are like the big cities that are close to Minot. So it takes a while to get to a nice big city, but like there's so many experiences with like the cold and the animals that you see. Like that was the first time I saw a moose. Have you seen a moose yet?
No, I haven't seen a moose. I'm gonna go searching for one this winter. Last winter, I didn't really know where I was at. But yeah, no, I definitely want to see a moose. I've seen all types of animals out here, though. That it's weird for me to see turkeys walking around. I think that was really weird, or elk, walking around here and there. It's
Mm.
like that's. I see horses. I don't see big ass animals. Like
You
fucking
seen an
horse.
elk?
Yeah, there's some elk up north. So I was like, what the hell? I was
Oh,
like, I didn't never seen. Yeah, just there's hiking places up there. So
I actually
that's right.
didn't. I never even saw an elk, but there's one night. Um, So I worked swing shift. I went to work at 4 p.m. and got off at midnight. And um, one night I was coming home a little later. It was probably like 1 a.m. And I'm driving down, the long stretch going back toward off base. And
Yeah.
oh, I saw something like pretty far away from me, but I couldn't tell what it was. And at first I thought it was a person. And I was like, what's a person doing out here 1 o'clock in the morning walking? And then I got closer and I was like, oh snap, that's a deer. And then I got even closer. I was like, deer aren't usually that dark. And I was like, that's a big deer too. And then I got close enough,
Wow.
and surely it was a moose, and it was in the middle of the road. It walked from like the right side all the way to the left, and it was just going its own pace, just walking across the road. And I was like, oh my god! And it was so big,
Dang.
dude. I was like, that is the scariest thing. I feel like I was in Jurassic Park. Like it was so terrifying. I was like, oh my.
I've never seen one before. I've never seen one, so not in at zoos or anything. So I'm hoping to see one this year. That'd be pretty cool.
It's gonna
That's
blow
crazy.
your mind because those things are so big. They're just so massive, and it's like that should not exist. Like we should all be scared that that thing exists.
Why is this in on the cage? We need to put these motherfuckers in the cage. Damn.
Yeah, but I mean, they're gentle giants. Somebody had posted a picture one time on Facebook while I was up there, and God, what's that bar? That's shoot, is it BJ's? No, not BJ's. Um,
Bar up here in Minot.
Yeah, it's like they have really good burgers. I can't think of
JL Beers, maybe.
it might be JL Beers.
Yeah,
I think
could be
it
one.
is JL Beers, but
Yeah,
it I think yeah, it's it close to like a neighborhood, like there's houses close to it.
yeah, like right behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody had posted a picture on Facebook one time. There was like two moose that were like literally in the parking lot of JL Beers just walking around. And
Damn.
yeah, and I was like, "Oh my
Ah.
god!"
Then take up the whole intersection.
Exactly. But
Damn.
that's the kind of stuff that like you don't get to experience if you don't go to places like that. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity to like even go into. I had a friend Kyle Nickerson who was from Rapid City, and he was going home one weekend, and he was like, "You want to come stay at my place, my parents' place?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I hung out with him in Rapid City. We went to go see Crazy Horse and Mount Rushmore and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, when I heard
Yeah.
you was going up there, I was like, man, sorry, Jake. But at the same time, you're gonna get to experience all these great things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, up here, it's not as bad as everyone says. A lot of people, I think Minot has a bad name to it, just because of the job, the location. It's super cold. I mean, it does get really cold. -40 out here. Supposedly last winter was a mild winter, and so they're saying this one's gonna be bad, but we'll see. I have no idea. I think cold's cold regardless. It's if it's 10 degrees and then -40 degrees, it feels the fucking same to me because it's
Yeah,
still like nah, it's cold when it comes down to it. Um, but yeah, it's not that bad. It's a small city, small town, so there's not a whole lot out here to do. But you can definitely keep busy. A lot of people when they come up here, they go to school. I started my business and stuff up here too, so it's not completely bad. It's a really good place to work on yourself for sure. Find yourself, and you're not distracted by a whole lot. You learn a different job specifically up here, depending on what job you are, and it's not terrible. It's very easygoing up here. That's for sure.
absolutely. What are some things that you've done up there that you really enjoy doing?
So I actually really do enjoy my job up here. So when I was in Tinker, I did a lot of security, right? I did a lot of working the gates, working law enforcement, doing security on flight lines. When I got up here, I was supposed to be doing that as well. And then I got involved with the tactical response force, which is a different squadron than what my orders originally told me to. So I said, hey, like, what is this? It's called they call them TRF, and I'm just like, man, what's this TRF? Um, and so one of my buddies that I had met from tech school, he was up here. And he's like, "Hey, brother, like, hey, I can help you out. I know a few guys." And so you go through a tryout. Um, you go through an orientation course, and they teach you the job and whatnot. And so pretty much what it's in the name, tactical response force. But what we do is we do nuclear movements, and when we task with the helicopter squadron. So my main job is recapturing and recovery and doing nuclear logistical movements for convoys up here at Minot. And so my main job is to fly in a helicopter, and then that's pretty much what I do. I put on my gear, and I go out and I sit in a helicopter, and provide overwatch, and so it's a lot different than just the regular security forces that everybody thinks that we are. Of course, we still have base security, the installation security. We do have the regular security forces out here where they go to the missile fields and whatnot. um, but I think being given an opportunity to do something that's a little bit different than the career field was definitely one of the best decisions I could have made. And coming to Minot and actually having the opportunity to do it and showcasing myself and saying, hey, like, I can do this. It's challenging when it comes down to the physical aspect of it, but everybody helps you. We're all very uplifting and very humbled when it comes down to TRF, and we don't look down on the other security forces people. No, we all have a beret. We all went through the same tech school. We just got presented with an opportunity and we took it. And I think when it comes down to being you know uh, professional, or SMEs as we call them, systematic experts, we just know, like, hey, uh, if there's something that we can teach you, we're going to teach you, because that's all we do is train. When we're not flying, we're not doing missions, we're training, we're doing the best that we can. So when it comes down to it, being one of the last response forces, we can take care of business. And I really like how the guys that join TRF want to be TRF. They want to be there. And so being an NCO and being able to lead these guys who are like super motivated and super ready to go out and train, and they want to be better for themselves, and they want a career out of this. It's really cool to be able to supervise these guys. That's for sure.
How much time do you have left before you get out?
So I have 7 months. Yeah, so I have a little over 7 months left before my contract ends. And so my idea right now is to um, in my career with TRF, instead of go back to a regular security forces unit and do regular security forces stuff. So yeah, so hopefully I'll be home by March through May timeframe. Um, and then pursue Rod Squad all the way. That's just what I plan on doing. Still going to school and whatnot, and broadening my knowledge. So yeah, I have about 7 months left in the military. But we'll see, things change. So
Yeah, I mean it's something that it's it's a minor decision and a major decision at the same time. Like, you know,
absolutely.
your impact on the world, you think like, oh, I'm just another person. Like the Air Force is going to replace me with anybody. But at the
Yeah,
same time, it's like, yo, this is a huge decision. Like what do I do next? And a lot of people struggle with it. A lot of people, I would say more often than not, if you can't make the decision or you're struggling with the decision, you end up joining. Like you rejoin, you reenlist,
yeah.
and I think that's a really good decision to make if you aren't sure what to do, because the outside world is always waiting. Like like
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
much easier to get out than it is to to get back in, or stay in. That's a longer process. So
absolutely.
um, I remember just every time I talk to Jesse about it is something that he struggles with, and even my friend John, talking to him about it, he's like, oh, I don't know what I want to do, or I think he was telling me his what he wanted to do a while back, but it's like you know what do you do? You've got all the benefits of staying in, and then there's a lot more benefits of getting out. You so
Yeah.
much freedom. You get to do what you want to do whenever you want to do it. Nobody can tell you what to do. So there is no asking, hey, can I go? Can I go this place? You just go.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not that leash on you. Yeah, it's a very hard and nerve wracking decision. I think it's just when people are in and they're coming up on their contract and you have a choice to extend, re-enlist, or get out. And people are like, I think they're so scared, and fear, would get them back into re-enlisting. Why? Because they don't know what they want to do. They don't know what they want to do when they grow up at that point. You have people who are 24, 28, 34 years old, and they're like, and they want to get out. They feel like, man, I've been on this leash for so long, and they want that freedom. They didn't have that freedom. And you think about it, like, hey, maybe you're at 12 years, you're already over halfway. People always, say, and I'm be going on 8 or 9 years by the time I get out. And people are like, but why? You're almost halfway there. I'm like, because I don't want to do this for another 11 years.
Yeah.
That's where my mindset's at. I'm like, no, I is it comfortable to stay in? Is it safe to stay in? You have benefits, you're getting a steady paycheck no matter what goes on. Even when the government crashed a few times, I still got paid every single time. I still get my income tax. I still get, the little recruitment bonuses, all that stuff. I still get all that stuff. And I understand if I do get out, I won't get that. I won't get that safety net. I won't get that, um, the steady paycheck. I won't get the benefits. I won't get any of it. But I think it's that if you're scared to make that jump, you're never going to make that jump. You're,
Mm.
you're always going to be scared. You're always going to be safe in what you're doing. And so I've been reading a lot when it comes down to, or even looking at videos on YouTube, and seeing entrepreneurs and seeing people who are businessmen, and they're just like, man, like, they were down to their last dollar, and they're making moves and doing what they can at a young age. And I'll be 27 in 2 weeks. And so it's like, man, like, I'm still young myself. I feel like I can do a whole lot more in 11 years than stay in the military and rank up, once every 4 or 5 years, maybe. And then hopefully, oh, now I'll get my retirement check, for the rest of my life. And I think I could do more than that. I think I can broaden so much more, in my mindset. I can travel whenever the hell I want to. I can do what I want to. I can have freedoms, um, but still, build my business and do what I need to do, and make money moves. But be there for my family as well. So, and I think being away from my family for so many years and constantly, going on deployments, TDYs, and being gone from the family, mom and dad and grandpa are getting old. So it's like, hey, I think I should go home. You know, so no safety net. I think I'm just gonna jump for it. And so that's where my mindset's at. But trying to stay as positive as I can about it, and just pulling that plug. I think that's gonna be my best decision.
Yeah, and a person with your mindset, I definitely think is the type of person who will succeed. And a lot of people who don't really have that jump mentality, they tend to, they struggle at first. They might get it later, but
Yeah,
if you have that jump mentality, then you you tend to find those opportunities. I love the phrase people say that luck is just when opportunity meets preparation. And
yeah,
if you've been figuring out what you want to do, and then you've just been doing it and creating your own opportunities, then you're going to look lucky to a lot of people, but they don't know what the work that you put in. They don't know uh,
yeah,
all the stress that you're under. They just see that you got it. Like, oh, Rod's just got it. And it's like, oh, well, what did he do? What did he
yeah.
do in his dorm when nobody was looking, and he had to stay up until 1 a.m. Looking at stuff and preparing and all that kind of stuff. Those are the type of things that will make people successful. And I definitely think whatever you plan on doing, if you plan on being a big time competitor, or if you plan on just being one of the best coaches, like I think with your mindset you can do it, just because you're working hard at it, and you're not just being lazy and halfway doing it. If you do stuff halfway, you get halfway results. And so I think
Exactly.
that's one of the killers of people in their business and the success that they get. So more power to you for getting out and going full
Appreciate
Rod
that.
Squad.
Thanks. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. a lot of people around me are like, ah, just do it, just pull the plug, you know. And I think you know, a lot of people around me, you know, they always say, you know, surround yourself with people who are like a little more knowledgeable than you, or here to push you. And I appreciate you being, you know, supportive of me, you know, jumping out and just saying, hey, like, jump out and run with it. And if it doesn't work, you know, there's something else there. There's always going to be an opportunity. So I think that's my goal right now for sure.
So what does Raw Squad have in the future? What are you doing? Spill the beans to everybody.
Yeah, so I mean, I do have some long-term challenges and goals that I've set for myself. So I do want to be, you know, of course, I'm a coach myself, but I would love to actually get so big to where I hire my own coaches, right? So when I hire my own coaches, they can have their own clients, but I can oversee all my coaches. Um, and hopefully, when I get out and I do create enough funds, I could buy or create my own gym, supplement line, and apparel as well, and kind of make it into just a bigger company, a bigger size company. Still have, and not just have, you know, Rod Squad as my only thing, but you know, broaden, you know, knowledge to everybody, not be like an independent influencer. That's not my goal. I think my mindset is growth. You know, I want to grow with it, and right now I'm actually building a platform for ambassadors as well for Rod Squad. So I do have my clients, and then I'm going to have an actual foreign ambassador team that's going to help support and then get us all the way through, and hopefully, you know, we'll be into the end. Um, and it's all selective, right? So I love my clients, and I'm just going to start building my ambassador thing going here. And the more followers you have, the more, and then there's always going to be stronger followers, which are going to be my ambassadors. And it's going to come with the full contract and everything, just stating like, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to grow. And we have our 5 year term and we have our 10 year term. I'm like, let's see what we can get. And hopefully, man, you know, my goal is to move down to San Antonio, and hopefully within the next, you know, 5 years, I'll have my gym and then just grow from there. That'd be my, like, my main goal. Just grow with it.
Well, Rod, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna in this
No, you're
podcast.
good, brother. Yeah, absolutely.
Give everybody your socials, your whatever, however they can find you, so they can get in shape.
Yeah, so I mean, you can just go onto Instagram, TikTok. It's Rod Squad underscore. On the O is going to be a 0. You can just go on my Instagram if you want to contact me. Just DM me, let me know. The link in my bio is for the coaching application. But again, Romera Records, I do appreciate you guys, Jackson, you know, helping me out and getting my name out there. So I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, that was Jake Rodriguez. Thank for everybody tuning in, and see you next time.